My name is Teresita Blanco, Deasura's sister, and we're continuing with Saturnastra, Deasura. This is chapter 3. I never make eye contact with people when I speak with them, I said plainly, fixing my gaze on my little cocuyo, commonly known as a fire beetle. Following my gaze, the priest made a motion to catch it with both his hands, and he kneeled down to bring it closer to me. His hands were glowing phosphorescent green, and like one of those little cute geckos who focus their gaze before striking, I focused my eyes on the man's forehead, and this gave the illusion that I was earnestly looking at him in the eyes. And then he finally asked his pertinent question. I was wondering why you sang so queerly today. I heard you in the forest, and you sang rather prettily. Truly, your voice is akin to the melodic voice of our goddess, he added foolishly, letting go of the little cocuyo. And once again my eyes started to wander to more amusing items. I'm bored, and if that is all you have to say, I will go on my way, I said, walking away. And he tried to detain me by the back of my dress, but I moved away before he could grab at me. And he started following me towards the woods and spouting nonsense about something or other. I was not in the mood to paying attention to his conversation. I returned to him when I heard when I heard he had a nasty fall tripping over some roots. The forest is no place for a lady, I said, chuckling. Ha ha ha. And this wouldn't have happened if you would have stopped when I told you to for the 100th time, he said angrily. I do what I want to do, and you're not my father, and I said, putting my foot down on his toes, and he grabbed his toe and he started cursing and yelling. Apparently I had messed up a nail that had already broken somewhat to the middle due to his fall, and grabbing his leg I said, stop belly aching, you're acting like a big baby. And I placed my hand over his leg and I healed it, and getting up he was amazed at what he called my miraculous powers. Sensing a sermon over the horizon, I jumped into the nearest body of water and I could find, and making myself smile like a little tadpole, I waited patiently till he gave up searching for me. I have a bad feeling about this priest, my dear Visconsalinas, and I should have just let his stupid toe rot out. Month 15, day 18, year 2. A cold frost fell today, partially freezing the pool. And since the weather is expected to disintegrate drastically, the swimming competition has been cancelled indefinitely. And instead we did a bit of javelin throwing and wrestling, and I abstained from both sports since I hate pugilism of any kind, and play battle was just as annoying. And even with sword, most of the battles had the bad habit of degrading into fisticuffs. And if they were using trousers, the hand would have been sliced to ribbons hundreds of times. And it was refreshing to see one particular fellow to bring in a kill, even with a blunt instrument. In retrospect, I should have at least tried hunting, and I was just not feeling it, you know. And I'm not a big fan of red meat, and thus I did not want to kill anything that I had no intention of eating, or even selling. Good night, Becerra. Sorry to have bothered you. Close to dusk, I went to the pool and tried the ice out, and after touching the surface, I noticed that it was thick enough to support my weight. And I got my skates out from my armband, and I started ice skating. And I was also joined by the twins, Jura and Sasha. And the two had taken their skates just in case the weather turned cold, and slowly we were joined by others like the dragon riders and a few other nobles who had the foresight to buy ice skates. And I said to Jura, I'm surprised that they have ice skating in this world. It is within the allotted margins, and there has been instances where men had to go through large frozen regions on ice skates, explained Jura. And the version has been around in the northern lands for more than 2,700 years, said Sasha. Really, I said, incredulous. Really, said Sasha, bored. I decided not to press the issue, and changing the subject, Sasha said, I saw Belle Marduk the other day. Belle Marduk? Who's that? I asked. That's the name your brother chose, said Sasha. Sounds like him, alright. Picking a name that will go with the theme of this planet is about right, I said thoughtfully. We're not in Saturn, not Jupiter. We are in Saturn, not Jupiter, Deasura, corrected Jura. It's called Saturnastra, last I checked, I corrected Jura. You can call a planet whatever you want, and we all know what planet you're talking about, insisted Jura. And narrowing my eyes, I distanced myself from the twins to show my displeasure, and I heard Jura say to his brother, you know we're not allowed to call them on their nonsense. And what a bother, unlike you, I do not have patience for whatever they are, said Judah. And I decided to ignore them for the rest of the evening and picking up a little speed. I started a little routine while skipping and dodging to the less skilled skaters, and with each jump I felt the ice crack below me a little, and I skated towards where the ice was thinnest, and down below I went to the shock and amazement of those around me. And I heard some commotion and splashing about as some rushed in to play hero, and in the end I saw the blowfish eyes of Judah taking out the poor frozen wannabe hero, and in the end I got my head out of the water and gingerly came outside. And the priest fell threw a warm blanket over me and carried me to the tent as if I was some invalid. And it was too much and I found mood to complain, and in the end I said, "Did you forget that I know how to swim?" And chuckling he said, yes, I did. And why can't you just leave me alone and mind your own business? I can take care of myself just fine. I don't need any saving, I said, removing the cloak and my soaked through skates. And shaking his head sadly, the priest muttered, "You sound just like my sister." He left stoically pray to his goddess for my soul or whatever, and unlike my siblings, I am not the sort of person to pry into people's past, nor do I care about their personal motivations, my dear Muffin. Month 15, day 19, year 2. It seems that this ancient saying runs true even today. He who does not want soup must drink to both. And I find myself perplexed and a little disappointed by this turn of events. By the turn of events of the tournament, and in hindsight I should have at least participated in a few physical battles. Not that it matters now that I think about it, and despite my best effort, I was not drafted into the Navy. Even though I specifically stated my preference and even displayed my knowledge of navigation, ship making, and management. And there was a silver lining in this entire state of affairs. The pesky priest became my sponsor, and the final result was set by the sleeping-looking pudgy dragon, and he was the last of his kin to remain in the vicinity to give some semblance of order to the entire affair. And most of the dragon rider officials had already left in search of a productive use of their time, and the dragon had flown in through the broken window of the barracks, and he started speaking in a raspy, high-pitched voice as thus, "Well, guys, after much deliberation, the sponsors have already chosen their cattle or whatever, and I will read out this list with the participants' name and the sponsors who won them. And if you go outside, their vassals will be holding up a cruise sign and yelling the name of the person they won. And if I know you can't find your mate, come to me and I will personally guide you to your sponsor or give you the bad news that you have been dreading." When I went outside, I moved through the mass of human flesh to find the booth of the Navy, and I was disappointed to see that they did not want me. And I pleaded my case, but the captain gave me an odd look and said, "A girl like you would be far too distracting for my man." And shaking my fist, I said to the captain, "That's funny coming from you." "And then there's that reason as well," said the captain. "You are too unruly to make a proper soldier. Why don't you try prostitution? It seems that you will fit in well with your kind." "Yes, but nothing, and I think one of my sisters is doing that, so I do not want to compete with her," I said, pouting my lips. "Good for you," said the captain in a condescending tone. And I made a mental note to get revenge on that wench, and I started to looking around in vain at all the possible promising ventures. And when everyone started dispersing, I was able to see the pesky priest with a cruise sign that said, Deasura. And I came up to him like a lamb being led to a slaughter and said, "Here I am." And he came to me and said, taking my hand, "My name is Leaf Pasha, and I'm going to be your sponsor from now on, and as you traverse through this wondrous career opportunity, which is being a priestess of Erua." "Why me?" I asked, moaning. "Why so glum? I thought you would be happy, seeing as no one else wanted you. The feastrings told me all about you, and don't worry, I'm going to make it, so you never have to worry about money again." "Just what exactly did they say about me?" I said, narrowing my eyes. "Oh, don't worry, nothing too personal. And just that you were an orphan mermaid who tried to open a cheese business and was muscled out by the Merchants Guild," said Liz, petting my head. Rolling my eyes, I thought, it sounds stupider the more people say it. And removing his hand, I said, "Look here, bud. I am not some damsel in distress. I just want to try some legitimate work, lest I be forced to steal for want of bread. Look here, lass. You do not know how this world works, and without connections you will have no choice but to resort to sordid means of surviving. And being a priestess will help you move up in the world. And people always look down on orphans, but they always respect priests regardless of their backgrounds. And if you wish to be a respectable member of society, this is the only path left open to you," said Leaf sternly. And I pushed down my nose flat towards my mouth, and I got that effort to smell my own nose, and it was a bizarre motion I always saw my mother do whenever she was thinking and she thought no one was looking at her. And whenever she was caught, she always brushed aside her left and right side of her nose, pretending to clean the grease off of it. And after seeing her do that several times, I had picked up that creepy habit. And looking up at Leaf, I saw a faint suggestion of a grin, and I said, extending my hand, I will take you up on that offer for a couple of years, and if nothing comes from that venture, I will try my luck elsewhere. On a serious note, I spent a good portion of the afternoon getting acquainted with Leaf, and he was one of those young, optimistic priests who hoped to save the world with his Bible or whatever he had in hand. And while the original cult of Erua was content to live in the fringes, Leaf hoped to bring into the limelight his beloved goddess. And based on the second-hand data from the Oculus, the cult of Erua had developed quite a significant following over the last 15 years. And originally the Erua goddess was reserved to the ascetic-oriented fellows, and men who would turn their backs on society, going as far as castrating themselves to fight their evil urges, and they would live in the wilderness performing rituals which resemble frenzied dances most of the time. And as for Leaf, he has spent a great deal of time explaining to me how this cult differed from his predecessor. And originally Leaf had joined the ascetic cult in a burst of teenage rebelliousness or whatever, and everything went sour as surprise when the castration scene occurred. And while literally hovering between this world and the next, he had a vision of the goddess Erua, and he described it as falling in love for the first time. And the first miracle that the goddess worked upon him was the restoration of what had been mutilated. And I never figured out why humans enjoy so much chopping out their body parts into millions of pieces. And they should be happy with what they were given or something like it. I could care not much about their nonsense, but then again, I come from a species of beings that can alter their bodies to their moods, so I suppose that they do what they must in order to find happiness or whatever. Anyhow, since that day Leaf had been a prophet of the goddess, listening and obeying to her every whim. The true form of the goddess was not the mermaid that was displayed on his pendants, though he explained, men find it easier to pray to something with a familiar face than a fish. Yeah, it certainly won't make her more approachable, I said with much enthusiasm, and by then I had grown tired of his long-winded explanation of his religion. Then again, this guy is a preacher. He can't help but lecturing people all the freaking time. Though if you ask me, the poor bastard just likes to listen to his voice 24/7, or should I say 30/15. I'm still not used to the bizarre time schedule of this gas giant. And the goddesses, should I say goddesses, were clusters of tiny bioluminescent fishes that schooled together to form a concise form. And at the center there was a large red glowing rainbow deep-sea calm jellyfish, and it had a faint tranquil presence about it, as it casually delivered its divine light into lesser companions, and I spent a good time of it analyzing this godhead in a pointless effort to divine its intentions. And the tiny human or lesser goddess at least did have some semblance of intelligence, though the entity known as Erua was lacking any intelligible thought that I could grasp with my telepathy. During my ruminations, Leaf casually watched me in silence, and he guessed I could see the goddess's presence, incarnation, avatar, or whatever. And based on previous records, she was the most multi-faced of all of the local goddesses, known all throughout the world by different forms and names. And smiling, Leaf said, I knew you were someone blessed. Nah, I just have better eyesight than the average fellow, and with a proper set of eyes, you could even see the dark matter, I said, twirling my hair. Dark matter, asked Leaf, concerned. Nothing you need to worry about, bud, I said, shaking my head sadly. To my dear Tammy Lime, Lisa just finished gathering supplies, and he left me in the companionship of a few other priests and their bodyguards. And while he made arrangements about a ship we were going to take, and my party waited for him while sitting on the benches beneath a covered waiting area in the docks. And like the priests, the well-armed soldiers were sporting makeup, and men wearing makeup was a visual representation of their adoration of the quixotic aquatic goddess Erua. And considering the balancing of the deities in this region, it makes sense that the polar opposite of the talkative, willful, bipolar river goddess Lisa would be the distant, impersonal Erua. And Lisa was the sort of goddess who one had to appease, and was often considered to be on par with demons. And she did not have a formal worshiping system or even a shrine, and rather just a set of superstitious rules one had to follow to avoid incurring her ire. And in accordance with her superstition, we were going to wait till sunset to start heading downriver, and to go upstream one had to do it by sunrise. And one of the priests, an ebony-colored gentleman, started asking me some basic questions, like my Asian stuff. I told him I was 9, which was the truth, and I had celebrated 2 birthdays with my siblings before coming to this world. And after my Duke, we were all active, born, or whatever, 2 months in between, with the exception of the twins. And I was the last one, and therefore I was the youngest. And I have been taken upon myself a body in turn with my true age, and since the age was the youngest age allowed for this source of gains. And do you know how to read? He asked. No, my father read everything to me, so I never bothered to learn, I said nonchalantly. And one of his companions whispered something to me, and the ebony fellow nodded and wrote down a sentence. Read this aloud to me. They gave to her the nutmeg, and they gave to her the ginger, but she gave them a far better thing, 7 gold rings off her fingers. As I completing the verse he was quoting. And the fellow was thoughtful for a moment, and apparently the first half was just a random nonsense. And the following fellow gave me a sheet with math questions and a long word problem, and it seemed to be a common procedure with everyone they hire. And I answered to the best of my attention span, and at the end of this 10-page examination I simply left it to father to answer the rest. And father gave me a mental note of the bewildered expressions, and they must have seen my glassy eyes, but chose not to comment on it. And it seems such knowledge traces were a common miracle or a blessing or a dua, and she's known to be an ocean of information and all that nonsense. Then again, this is just a speculation on my part. What are you exactly? Said one of the soldiers bluntly, because Leaf was a bit sketchy on the detail. Doesn't really matter, I mean, really. And one must humans get all caught up in such trivialities, and for example, for all intents and purposes, I am Deasura. And then just leave it at that, I said, dodging around the question. And seeing another bodyguard about to protest made me say, I am for the moment what you call it, a mermaid, but I am more related to the neck, or nynx, and everything that it implies. What? The fellow confused. I need to have a daily contact with water or else, and I grow physically despondent, and my companions still go to the violin and other musical instruments instead of singing. And they do not have a true voice of their own, and thus they like the gift of song. And I am the exception to this rule, and I can sing quite nicely if I have a mind to do so, which I rarely do. So do not ask me to serenade for your amusement, as I concluded my long-winded explanation. And there were other important gimmicks relating to my companions and myself, but I chose to omit them for brevity's sake. And I also added the made a witness to my companions study to make them at ease, and you must always feel safe next to beings that they think they can kill. Night has fallen, and the boat ride has been quite uneventful, and boating is truly the safest way to travel the kingdom. And with large masses of water all about, and the dangerous critters lurking below, it is hard to seek up and try to fish something fishy. And as I found the guards, some of my companions are asleep, and a few hours ago leaving the others badgered me with some conversation, and from time to time they would pet my hair or kiss my forehead whenever they thought I did a good job. And it does not take much to impress silly little humans. And so these people were the touchy, kissy, affectionate, I decided to lay down some important ground rules, and I took an apple from the fruit stand and took a bite to add more visual emphasis to what I wanted to say. And I was disappointed when I saw that eating an apple did not carry the same meaning. And sighing I started as though, first of all, I am not all convinced that hanging out with you guys will be a profitable venture. Also, if you can stop with the hugging and the petting and kissing, it might make your companionship a lot more bearable. And said, why do you hate being touched? Asked Lee, showing genuine concern. And based on one of his memory fragments, I knew that such a negative response to touch was common to those who have been victims or people who have been tortured at some point or another. No, it's nothing of the sort. I'm only giving you guys a warning, unlike the others. Poof, gone, sapoo. And what I'm about to say is, well, there is, let me see, yes. Well, at certain times, I cannot say when, exactly when my skin releases a sort of poison. And that if I touch it, can kill you in an instant. And this problem goes away in about 2 years or so, give it a take. So if you want to leave, don't touch me. It's for your own safety, I say, concluding my explanation. Leave was thoughtful, and just saying that you have been touched will have sufficed for us, and there's really no need for such an elaborate lie. Yeah, whatever, just leave me alone. I don't know you enough to allow you to pet me, I said, jumping into the water. And I followed the boat till an hour before midnight. And there was a strange stillness in the air, and it was making me feel somewhat paranoid. Month 1, day 1, year 1. Happy New Year's and happy birthday, Mona. how is the financing going? And my house's situation is dicey, but I am still here, so I feel optimistic. More to the point, I need some advice. And my grandson, whatever happened to pet my hair, and I don't know why his obsession with my blonde hair. Anyhow, he happened to do it during one of those moments when the toxicity levels of my skin rises to unsafe levels, and he did not die because of his colors, which is more the pity. And now I have to contend with his pointless questioning, and he seems to truly convinced that what he saw was real, regardless of what I say, and he refuses to believe me, and no matter what, he's hallucinating 24/7, and I mean 30/15. And this is a bit unnerving that he refuses to turn a fat eye to the entire situation, and he keeps on staring and staring at the river, and I need a solution pronto. Month 1, day 2, year 3. Muna was no help at all, and all I got was a scribble note telling me to kill Leaf, and if it was detrimental to my mission, and if it was up to Muna, all problems would be solved with violence. Though I find the thought quite appealing, and though this morning Leaf at work in a bit of a haze, and his companions worried about him because he looked unkempt, and he was wearing the same robes from last night, and his makeup was running, and he was mumbling to himself and looking over his shoulder from time to time as he walked back through the small out of the vessel, and the monk started pestering him about the condition of his companion, and he asked, "And what happened? You did this to him." "Yeah, but I warned you guys, it's not my father. You guys chose not to believe me," I said, sitting down by the fence of the boat while hanging my feet out, and the weather was choppy enough to get my toes wet, and I left alone while the priest and the bodyguards argued, and in the end I went to Liz to suggest getting rid of me. At least that is what I think happened, and everyone in the cabin was yelling and screaming my name. And this made me sad, my dear Ortus, because it's not my fault. I was just trying to do my best, and now if I'm getting this toxicity, it's only because, well, there's no point in thinking about it. And I was foolish to hope for more than 2 years of peace, and I will have to be more careful from now on as I walk with normal people. And I would not have to suffer such alienation if I had not lost my father's robes, and the fragment I have is just not enough. Alright, let's just leave this here. Bye-bye and God bless.